Good morning, everyone. We're a couple of minutes to the top of the hour, just waiting for folks to show up before we start our presentation today. We have John Curtis on the line. Just hold tight with us and we will start in a couple of minutes. To help if I took myself off mute. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the webinar. We're going to give it about another 30 seconds for folks to just get signed in, and then we will get started. All right, let's go ahead. So for everybody's information, this session is being recorded. Everybody's in listen-only mode, so we should be fine there. We'll get started and we'll talk about housekeeping and other things that we're going to do today. But let me welcome you to today's webinar, September OpenNTF Webinar. We have with us John Curtis from HCL, and our topic today is what's new with Domino Query Language, some stuff that's coming and some stuff that's being planned, and John's got lots of goodies for us. So we'll jump right into it. My name is Graham Akers. I'm going to take us through a little bit of an introduction today, and then we'll switch it over to John because he's got lots of good stuff for us. And then we'll talk about questions at the end where Jesse and I will ask the questions of John. So asking questions, in order to make sure that they're recorded and shared for people who watch this video after the webinar time this morning, we want to actually ask our questions live because lots of typing doesn't get recorded on the screen. So we ask that you type your questions into the question panel in the GoToWebinar control panel, and then Jesse and I will go through them and ask those questions at the end. Again, we'll respond verbally. Our ask is to keep the questions related to the topic that we are discussing today, so to do with DQL. If you have questions that are outside of the current topic, we certainly invite you to go to the OpenNTF Slack channel, and you can use that to ask your questions there. Lots of us are watching what's going on in Slack, and there's a pretty regular conversation, so we can get your questions answered there. I want to say a quick thank you to our sponsors of OpenNTF annually. HCL has made a contribution, and it pays for things like these webinars and some contests and hackathons and things like that, and running the organization, so we'd like to thank them. And we also want to give a shout out to Programmatic, who donates all of the IT related services that go into running OpenNTF, like hosting our servers, and managing that infrastructure for us and day-to-day system administration. So thank you to both HCL and Programmatic. Quick note about OpenNTF. Obviously, this is our community and we get out of it what we put into it. So we're always open to having people contribute and join up. And as it turns out, in September, it is election time. So for anybody who's interested in either joining the board or having a louder voice, I direct you to the OpenNTF homepage, which has a blog post on it right now about the elections process. And if you'd like to get involved, you can get in touch with Paul Withers. All of the information is available on the blog post on the website. As we say, we're all volunteers, and there's all kinds of things that people can do to help enhance the community. You don't have to be a programmer or an administrator. You can be new to the community. There's lots of things that we can get involved in here. And even if you have an idea that you think would be a great idea, but it's bigger than what you might be able to contribute, get in touch with us, because we know lots of people in the community who are willing to help out, and we can put a team together and take on a project together. So please, if you are interested, by all means, get involved. Quick note about our next webinar. I've got 2 more slides and then we'll get to John. So our next webinar is October 22nd. We have a community member by the name of Michael Smith who has contributed a flexible view control for X pages to OpenNTF. And he is going to talk about that view control in the next webinar in October. So mark your calendars and join us. There's the link to sign up. And a couple of quick notes about upcoming community events. Let's Connect virtual event is coming up in a couple of weeks here, and there's the URL for that. CollabSphere happens at the end of October, and Richard is accepting abstracts, which actually makes me think that I should get on top of mine. So CollabSphere at the end of October, and then DNUG actually has regular events going on right now. So if you go to the DNUG website, and you can see the various different topics that they're running. They kind of run kind of an event every couple of weeks. So by all means, have a look over there and see what they're up to. Okay, John, let's switch it over. I'm going to go out of presenter mode, and I'm going to make you the presenter. John Curtis. There you go. You are now the presenter, and you should be able to present your screen. You're on mute, John.
I was a good doobie and muted myself, so.
Excellent.
Yeah, so you have El Capitan and Yosemite there. Okay, yeah, so I'm going to speak on the topic of DQL, and it's actually a little bit wider topic, app dev development in general, because we are talking about the back end, and it's the venue that I'm going to speak mostly to is that, but DQL is my specialty these days, so that's really the focus of what I'm going to deliver on. We can actually, Graham, is it possible to have the polls going on as I speak, or?
Yeah, let's try the first one.
So I have a couple of leading questions, okay, which is just regarding the usage of DQL, and the question is how many applications you have now that use it, and let's just get a vote on this. So I can get a feel. This is kind of a probe as well as a presentation. So I want to make sure that I'm gathering data that will help us do a better job. Okay, let me present now. Okay, so what's new?
We're just pushing about 60% of the people in the webinar have voted. So let's give it another 15 seconds or so.
Okay, we can do that. Yeah, so we'll pause while the voting occurs. That's fine.
All right. Give it just a few more seconds. Okay.
Okay.
Close the poll.
Very good. Do you have results?
I can go
later. So I don't know how this works.
No, that's okay. Let's talk about it quickly because I think it's valuable. So how many applications? 80% of our respondents have said 0 applications using DQL. 20% have 1 to 3, and 1% says more than 3. So we've got a keener in the audience, which is awesome to see.
All right, I expected the like. So thank you. Thank you, everyone, for participating. I want to make sure that I understand who we're talking to here. And my job is not to talk you into using DQL, but really to explain what it does and show you that we are trying to make you, in fact, I say my job is to make you powerful. And that's really what I'm trying to do here. So I am the architect over DQL development and Domino App Dev core development using application development in general. So I am a team lead as well as an individual contributor. So there's my contact information. I am active on Twitter. I have a blog, and I have, of course, an email address. And that's the preferred. So we have multiple email addresses at HCL. This is preferred. I will answer those emails faster than the HCL.com ones. Okay, thank you. All right. So I borrowed this line from Andrew Manby. They love, the people in OM love to have, of course, the roadmap idea where we have pictures of the road going by, and that's what he is presenting here. So I did the same thing, kind of co-opted it for DQL and talked about what we have here. So version 1, of course, came out in 10. I call it version 1 of DQL, or the first version of it. And then there's a constant improvement, I want to say, throughout of functionality and performance, both of those things. I've always said that DQL would only get faster, and that's been true since the beginning. In December of last year, we delivered Domino 11 and 11.01, and you can see the pieces that that became part of those releases. I'm going to show you, in fact, start with 11.01 as kind of a pickup place for the functionality in the presentation. The statistics and performance piece came in, and I'm going to announce the kind of both the design, and we actually have started to get a prototype working. I apologize, I don't have a demo yet for version 12. That's coming literally in weeks or maybe a month from now. We'll be able to demonstrate something of that. But it is absolutely it's gone a long way with the design and the object ecology, if you will. So that's what we're going here. So this is the kind of the venue against the process against my talk this morning. Okay, so as I say, in 11.01 is where I'm going to start. We did complete our full text index engine utilization. That is using the full text index. If you have one on your database, you understand that every term in the DQL syntax, we have to decide how to solve that term. And before this, the numeric and date terms were not using the full text index if it was available. They are now in 11.01, and the speed improvement is vast. We are improving between 5 and 200 times faster. It depends what the operation is. But the DQL plan and costing, this is the way that we decide what is the cheapest way to solve a given term. It goes to full text first, then views, then NSF scanning. That's in order of cost. And we do also, of course, I'm going to talk about results injection. We do have the notion of taking results from the first term and limiting what we do in the second term, as you'd expect. So that's how it works. It's seamless. That is to say that there's no special regard to the work you do to use the syntax with full text. It just plugs in. It works with ands and ors. It's just part of the language. There's no special considerations. There are some limitations, and all these are kind of historical with Domino. The first one is that only single occurrence fields. So the idea of lists and ranges do not really apply. Here it is a single. If you have a single value of a field, that's what we do, index and full text. And we will work anyway, but it just won't use full text. And there are no times in the date time values, only dates. So a lot of times people don't care about that anyway. That they don't want to specify the time, which is fine. We go either way. If you want to specify time, you can. I'll show you in an example and demo in a few seconds what that means. Okay, so basically this is a mini matrix. The real matrix is much larger, but this shows that regarding full text usage, what we do here. And really, so the contains verb was what we built in 11. Okay, that the second line here, the second row, field contains text, that was available in 11, and then we'll only use full text. In fact, the contains verb is saying, please use my full text index. It will not compile if you don't have a full text index. Okay, what's new are all the yeses with the asterisks. So the field equals number, field less than number, the range queries. By the way, if equals is also in, the in clause is the same as equals, same thing. Likewise, all of the the range against numbers and dates work. The equality works. What doesn't work is the field with the time value. You see at the bottom there, I have 11 o'clock today. This is when I'm delivering the talk here today. That date just passed. If you want to specify that, it will basically fire off a view search or an SF scan. It's smart, is the point. DQL is smart about the best way to solve a given term. Okay, so using all of the Domino capabilities to search, we will do that. Okay, all right. What's also new in 1101 is statistics. Okay, we didn't have statistics, and we needed this for internal testing as well as administration. There's no real way to find out, okay, how are my queries doing? What does it look like? What, you know, if there's something that's de-optimized, how do you find that? And you do it by show stat query. You see all of the, on the right there, all of the values that we do print. And I'll show you this in a minute. This is the, so average, max, min, and count. And the overall, whether it's the all means everything across all terms, but then I break it down by the in view, that's in the in view clause. NSF is an NSF scan, FT is full text, of course, and view scanning is the last one. So we break it down, we find out where you're spending your time. So the time spent, the average, I always go to the average MSECs, average milliseconds, and see how we're doing here. So you see that we have like you can see right here why we choose full text first. The average milliseconds is 14, whereas the average milliseconds for NSF scanning is 136. This is only milliseconds, and 136 milliseconds is not going to hurt anyone, but this is a small database. Okay, and I did mention that we have enhanced Boolean optimization. You won't see this, but I wanted to mention it because it does make things go faster. I'm going to continue to always say we're faster, 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 because we are that way, and we're getting better that way. So results injection means, as I said, the ability to take a set of results and project it into the following operation so that we limit the work we do. And it does a great job eliminating costs for view scanning and especially NSF scanning for much faster query time. So, you know, the idea that DQL is ready for prime time is with us, and I'm making sure that that remains that way. Okay. The other thing, and you may not have known this, but DQL was not working prior to 1101. I'm sorry, I'm now on 12 early access. DQL was not working client server until the early drop, which is now available, I believe. The early access just was posted. So if you want to kick the tires, you can go ahead and do that. The client server now is active. You now we have a transaction that harvests the incoming DQL query against remote databases. It does, of course, the transaction does a show in the show trans list for the Domino console, and it does support full substitution variables. So the substitution variable is something that we put into the syntax. It says, look, I don't want to specify what this value is until runtime, and I will give it to you. We have full support in the backend for this. I will give you that value at runtime. It binds to it. Okay, so that's fully supported in the drop. And okay. And the next thing we did in the drop was the formula language support. So this was kind of to round out the capabilities of the query. We needed to have a special escape in the syntax in order to I've actually have a bug on there. Yeah, so the syntax is at FL or at formula, either one of those, in the case insensitive, but that's how you specify formula language within DQL. And you embed the syntax within a single quote. So you see there's actually a compile error in the first one. It won't compile. You have to, I didn't close the quote. Length is greater than that value. And so that's an app sign function that you could use as a regular term in DQL. So formula language is simply part of things. And of course, you can do a full expression, OR, and all that same thing in the formula, right in that enclosed in the parens. We tried to combine the syntax with DQL, and it just was too confusing. So we said, we were confused about it, and no way could people use it. So we ended up saying we're going to have an escape, and that is the @FL syntax. So that's what works. And what this provides, of course, is the intra-document term. So people wanted to compare this date with this other date on the document. You know, is the date, have you passed it? That's a very good query. lots of things you can do, intra-document fields, that sort of thing. The other thing it supports, of course, is full expression support. All that stuff's there. And everyone's familiar with the huge library of existing functionality we have with the formula language. So that we just tapped into that, and it's using there. Now, not everything will work, and there are some, we had to turn off some of the functions like at prompt. It makes no sense in a query to have at prompt, so we turned that off. Okay, so to dive down a little bit deeper, we do have support for substitution variables, but it's outside. You see the first example there. That's a length, at length var is the name of the substitution variable you would supply using the APIs, using the I think it's set named variable. I think that's the name of the method you'd call in Java or Lotus script to do that. You would set that to something and it finds there. So you see, it's outside of the FL. Outside of that is the substitution variable. You can go ahead and supply all those things. It works great. This whole business, and you see the one below is the next one. So we're saying I don't want to define what field one var is until runtime. Okay, you don't have to, and you can find that out. You can supply that at execution time such that we'll figure out what it is to be to satisfy this particular run of the query. So one query can do many things. You don't have to hard code values. You get the idea. Okay, as I said, it's completely compatible with the rest of DQL. I mean, it's just another kind of term that's applied against it'll do an SF scan, but it's absolutely part of the syntax. It figures as an NSF scan. It's costed and planned as an NSF scan because that's how you solve it. And they're satisfied. The and in the orange terms are satisfied with a single pass. That is, if we are NSF scanning using at formula at FL, we will, and there's another term that's anded with it, that and something else that does a scan, we'll pass it once. We won't pass it multiple times. That's something that's true of all of DQL. If we figure there are terms that should be processed together, we will do so. Now, of course, there always except for this, the current implementation does have a 256 byte maximum of formula language syntax. Now, the reason we did this, and we want feedback here. This is not cast in stone, except that we have memory considerations. That's one reason. So people said, I want 64K of formula language. Well, in a query, really? I have to be educated about that if that's the case. I want this query to have this huge, really what is a formula language program inside of a query. That is not something that we thought would fit the programming model. But look, as I say, it's not cast in stone, and it's something we have to do. But you can get a lot done in 256 bytes. So I'll say that in the same breath, actually. And you cannot do a substitution variable for the entire FL string at this time because we evaluate that as a separate pass. So in other words, going back to the examples above, you can't say question mark FL. We don't do that yet. So if we ever did that, it'd be something later. But we do make you specify the formula language syntax verbatim. Okay, so that's that. Okay, time for my demo. So let me just show you what I have here. I'm going to first show you some formula language. Okay, this is I'm sorry. First of all, I'm going to show you the full text usage, which came out 1101. So I will run this directly from command line. So you understand, my demos are mostly character based, and I don't really apologize for that because it's kind of where I personally live. And you're glad I do, because I test a lot of functionality at the server level, make sure that it's compatible, and make sure that it scales, those kind of things. So I have a lot of drivers and this sort of thing. So this is a driver running here, and see, there it is. Okay, so what we have here are 3 separate queries. Those who are not familiar with Explain, what Explain does is that it will tell you how the DQL engine decided to treat a particular term. So I'm running 12 here. This is I'm always, of course, the latest daily build, and this is saying that, okay, I've got a time date fix is, of course, a time date fix length field, fix occurrence field, and I am running full text indexing against it. So you see it scanned it, and it took a whopping 54 milliseconds. However, if I specified the full time, you see this, it will instead, it will scan, use NSS scan, and it takes quite a bit longer. It takes three seconds to do. The last one is a combination. This contains is something we shipped in 11. This says, okay, I want you to do a document level contains operation. If any field in the document contains these strings, and contains is not equal, it will find needles and haystacks, that kind of thing, including the wildcard BAL. I want you to run that. So that does a full text search, and both of those terms are combined in a single full text search query, and that's how that gets satisfied. Okay, so we have that. Let me show you now another. Okay, this is going to show you. Actually, let me go here first. So here's a bunch of queries that get fired off. Ignore my the syntax of the driver here, but you get the idea that FL with these pieces here. You can see the different constructs here, so that you have the in clause with the in view clause with a formula, and I think the fourth one here. Yes, this actually has the values stripped out of the FL, so you can separate them from the formula language itself. So this will evaluate the formula language inside the FL quote. Okay, it'll do that, and it will process that and feed it to something. I think there's a bug in here actually. That U doesn't look like it belongs, but that's okay. This will feed. I think I probably typed that in. There it is. Yes, I just created that bug. Yeah. So this will basically say, okay, I'm going to run this FL, and I will compare the value to the output of that formula language in DQL. And you see down below, I think I give you, yeah, there it is. So this is an example of the substitution variable where I actually take num2. Num2 is a name. Ignore how I do it here. It's a mess. It's not fun to look at. You would call set name variable to do that, but you get the idea that this at formula produces a value, and at runtime, not at compile time, and you don't have to decide, the same query could service any number of values in num2. Okay, hope that's clear. And I know the font is kind of small, but you can rewind it if you're watching the video. Okay, so and then I have a big long string of queries that combines the two. So this basically says I have formula language, and I'm going to intersperse it with other DQL terms. I'm going to run them together. So let me show you that from this perspective here. Yeah, darn. Let me grab this. I'm sorry. I want to show you the server actually, so you can see another. Oops, I'm sorry. Let me grab it so I can play it back. I apologize for that. Okay. So run my server. It'll come up. Again, running 12. Actually, yesterday's daily build, and it'll run this in term. And I fire off. So let me show you what I'm about to fire off. This text. Oops. Sorry. I want to paste it. There we go. No. Oh, darn. There it is. Okay. So what this says, and maybe you don't know you can do this, but if you say server name bang bang, this is the way inside Domino. If you open, you want to test the client server part of Domino. It's a trick to use a server name as a prefix to your database name, and this will cause the client server stuff to fire for you. So this you'll see in the server console somewhere. Sorry, lost it. There it is. Okay, that was it. I just went by it. And there it is, the server console. Okay, so that showed the server's loaded. I'm going to fire off my, I'm going to actually keep it running as I talk to you. This will fire a number of queries off a client server at the server. And you'll see the server will immediately open up a session. Well, it should. Yeah. There it is. Okay, so I have a session running. transactions. There we go. Tran. Okay. There it is. The session took a while to get going. Okay, so there's the stats. They're coming and they will accumulate as they continue to run. You have the queries running in the background here as it runs, and shows Tran should have. There it is. Okay, so you see the new transaction is this. So client server is working. We have the statistics being accumulated. Again, go back to the set query. They should be growing as the queries run. We're doing more and more, and you'll see the different queries happening, different statistics being filled out. So far, we're doing nothing but NSF scanning, and that's fine. But it does. The test bed does do full text and it does do views. So as it runs, you will see more and more coming in. Okay, but I'm not going to. As I said, let's let that run in the background while I go on with the presentation. Okay. So yeah, at this time, I'm actually, why don't we do a second poll, which is this. What environment, if you weren't using DQL, if you want to use it, I don't care if you use it or not, but if you did, what would the environment be that you would use it in? So Graham, if we can post that one.
The poll should be up. We've got people responding now.
Okay.
And just over 50% of our audience has answered, and Lotus script is winning by a good chunk here.
Okay.
We'll let it go for another 10, 15 seconds.
That's fine.
Get in some last minute votes. All right. So we got about 80% of our viewers responding here. I'm going to close the poll. So the result is 80% chose Lotus script, 54% Java, 28% app dev pack, and 4% CAPI. And keep in mind that people could choose multiple answers there. So
yes, they could. Yes, they could. Okay.
Significant,
Okay,
and I'm one of them. People still using Lotus script.
Yep, and that's fine. It's great. But Lotus script is absolutely one of the main deliverables here. So okay, moving on. So the following presentation is it's absolutely designed. We have working code. It is, however, looser as far as the development process is concerned than what I've shown you so far. It is something that we have been combining to make sure we have everything people need. And as you'll see, it's not a simple process. So it's extensive. Okay, that is, it's not just DQL we're taking into account here. It's all document collections, and you have document collections already. We want to make sure they could take part in the results processing work we're doing. I don't want DQL to be the only thing that benefits from this. So we really want to be able to take everything you're doing and make sure we're producing something that's broadly applicable. Okay, it's not, if you don't, there's no requirement to use anything that other than you're doing. And I think you'll find it profitable. Okay, so that means that it supports this functionality across databases, across database schemas, and across all your document collections that you have done. You have them in hand today. So it has flexible computed values, as you expected from Domino, everywhere. So we actually took this idea of computed values and went crazy with it and said, you know what, let's make it everywhere. Let's make it so you can compute values on the fly in a way that makes sense to you, that formats the data the way you want to see it, that finds values the way you want to see them. Of course, it supports sorting. So you'll see, and I'll say it again, that we, for the first time, are breaking out the sort package that has always been part of building views. We are now making it part of a callable interface, so you can actually generate a set of sorted results by calling this thing. And it has some very cool capabilities you've never seen before. Who knew? So this is what we're going to be doing. So showing that. We will have support for combined rules. People they talk about joins as being the only thing. Joins are part of it. Joins are probably the biggest part of it between different found sets, but it's not the end of the story. The idea that you would take this field and look it up in that other field using full text, that's also a Domino thing. In a textual database like Domino, it's something that's important to do. We will support aggregate functions. That means the maxes, the mins, the counts, those kind of things. And I will say, just as a comment, and you'll see, this is complex, and there is no way, and please, if you have an idea, help us, but there's no way to avoid complexity in this problem, because there's just a lot of data flying by here, and we did our best, and we'll continue to do our best to apply what exists in a new context. That's what we're trying to do here. But low code, no, that's a stretch. It's not low code. But I think what will happen is people will use it and they'll deliver things which are low code, right? So tools like, I work with the Volt people directly, and they will use this and probably have a nice UI that's up in front of it that makes it easy for you. So that's all part of the design. And there's no way you can do a join, for instance, without having some complexity. I challenge anyone. So that being said, let's dive. Okay, what we're calling it, just as a working name, and we may have a different name coming forward in the back end. We're calling it the query results processor. If I put, by the way, the notes in parentheses is if you use AutoScript, you know that's everything is prepended with the word notes. So that's what I put every time. So you see that as I go through these slides, you'll see that show up again and again. It's a new backend class. We need to do this, and that backend class lives at the session level. There is multiple databases part of this. We could not put it with the database, so it's a session level class. It has to be there. It has supplied multiple lists. The biggest list is of the participating document collections. That's a part. So these lists of data and other classes that are part of this, they all work together to provide the best and most powerful facility we could give you. It builds, as I say, on a known classes. You've seen these classes before, but they've never been combined before, never been used in this way before. And you'll see that it has extensive capabilities, okay? Have multiple output formats, objects flying by. Like I said, low code, not so much, but let's build one. Okay, let's go through this and show you what we have. It's working, okay? It's about to be demoed. Next time I talk about this, I predict I will have something to demonstrate. Okay, so the very first thing you have to create is a column. And this is, the best way to think about this, and it's absolutely in keeping with the facility, is that we're going to produce a view. Okay, so a view has a programmatic, every column has a programmatic name, has a column title, has a sort order, it can be hidden, categorized. Other attributes we may add here. This is not a conclusive list. This is not cast in concrete. But you understand that a sort column, you have multiple of those across the top of your view. That's what I'm sorry, the other way. So you see it as left to right, that kind of thing. So as you add these, it's akin to adding a column to view on the fly. So this is kind of create a view or create results that's on the fly. And it uses what you've always known as the sort package in the view package, under views, okay? As I said, we may add additional attributes to those shown, but you know those you're familiar with those attributes from Designer. Okay, you've seen them before. Now, remember the program. We're going to come back to the programmatic name. Okay, so say you add 3 or 5 of these, whatever. I don't have a demo, but we will, and you'll add, say, 5 sort columns, and some of them don't even have sort order. By the way, sort order can be no. I'm not sorting this one. I just want it to show up in the payload. Okay, it's not sorted. You can certainly do that. But remember the programmatic name. We're about to work with it. Okay. I just do this, didn't I? Oh, sorry. Same. This is the better slide for the fast one. Sorry. My proofreader was on vacation, I guess. Yeah. So I would say one more thing, which is that the programmatic name, if not overridden, remember this, if it's not overridden, it will become the field name to fetch. Okay, so the programmatic name is a field name in whatever database you're accessing. that if you don't override it, and I'll show you how to override it in just a second, but that will be part of the approach here. So this is a better slide than last one. Okay, so here we go. Now we're adding there's two ways to add a collection to this processor. The first one is to just specify a document collection. Any document collection, you can find it any way you want, DB search, FD search, get all documents by key, DQL, build it by hand. No one cares. You have a document collection in hand. You have to name it because the names are very important to the processing, okay? So when you add a document collection, you have to specify a name there, and that's also important. So two names to remember, the programmatic name on the sort column and the document collection name. Those two names are important. The second one is, yes, you can add a DQL query and it will execute it for you. Okay, that's the idea here is you don't have to execute it. We will do that for you, or you can execute it and feed it to us as a document collection. Your choice. That's a different way of doing things. But the idea of the document collections and DQL do the same thing. You're saying, look, I have, please take this document collection or create this document collection and name it this, and consider that part of your processing. Okay, as I say, remember that collection name. It's going to show up. Okay, here's where we come back. This is the way we override what's in the sort column. I give you a demonstration here, a little bit of a mock-up what it's going to look like. So what we're doing is allowing you to override the rules for fetching data against one of those sort columns, okay? But it's very, very programmable and flexible here, because you can specify a different formula for each of your document collections if you want to. Okay, so the idea here is, remember that document collection name from the last slide and the programmatic column name from the sort. You're saying, look, from this document collection, I want you to apply the following formula language and have that be what generates the value going into the query processor, the query result processor. So you have the power now to specify a different set of formula language for any of the document collections coming in. And you might not have to. Okay, you can specify. So I give you an example down the bottom where you can use a wildcard and say, actually, I don't want that kind of power. Instead, I want to apply the same formula to all the document collections, matching the pattern. You see that last add formula .call star. Well, that matches .call 1 and .call 2. You see, so that actually will override the formula for both of those. Okay, and I'm just giving examples. You could have created the document collection for DB search, the second one from FT search. It doesn't matter. It's a document collection to the language, and when you pass it into the results processor, we will consider it as a named thing that has rules. So when you say I want to basically proper case name field, okay, for instance, if it's a name field, that's just an example. I want to format it a certain way so it will sort and present properly. And you can specify anything you want in the formula language to override what's in the sort column. So it just give you a second to think about that. Okay, so that's part of what the power is here. We want to give you, first of all, any document collection can take part in this. Secondly, the overriding of document collection, overriding of the sort columns is extremely important, because you want to be able to format things. You know, and I know that the data in Domino is quite different, and you might want to marshal the data to look the same because it comes from two different databases. That's fine. That's exactly what this is going to help you do. Okay. All right. So the combine rule is basically saying I want to do a join. I don't really have a description of this yet. We're not there yet. We're going to be putting this in, but the combine rule says, look, I have left and right, and I have to match those up with my again, my document collections have to be matched against this thing, and I will join the following way. I will have it, usually it's field equals value, field equals field. That's the common way people do, but it's also going to do keyword lookup. So if I have a set of keywords in this document collection and I want to look up values in that one, I want to create a join that way, you can do it. That's the kind of thing we're going to build in the combined rule. Again, it's not fully specified, and this will require a second presentation once we do. Set output type, as I said, views are a output type. So we can, as part of this, create a view. Now, there's a whole discussion about views that I want to kind of dive into here, which is that views, the way we traditionally have thought about views is that they are, kind of sacrosanct. They are a fixed part of the design. But it's interesting, when we tried to do the design harvester as part of DQL, we found that upwards of 90% of the views have not been opened in 5 years. I guess some of our biggest databases. So the idea that you need even more than 10% of those views, the data suggests otherwise. So the idea of a view being transient and being temporary, it's always been with us. You've always had temp views. You've always had private views. The idea that we would create this view just for results processing, it's completely viable that way. And if we want to keep it, make it persistent, so be it. That's fine. We can do that. But one of the outputs here is view type. So you must provide the view name, and the other kind of output is stream. Okay, and these days the main stream type is going to be JSON, right? So JSON output is a absolute requirement, screaming requirement for everybody. It is the lingua franca of web apps. So that is, and we can plug right into the JSON navigator. And yes, that means the JSON navigator has to be robust, has to have search capabilities. Whatever it's like, we're going to fix that way. And of course, execute means run this thing. The concept, and already we've seen the early tests show really good promise for good performance and of course high functionality here. Here's a picture to people who are visually oriented. I present on the left a set of document collections coming in, 5 of them coming in, and I've got again, you create these document collections any way you want. DQL, DQL2, the full text search document collection, database search document collection, whatever it is. Those can feed. Now, combine is optional. I want to say joining. Without that, it's a federated result. Okay, you don't need to join. You can just say, I want to take this data, consider it, and just sort it. Okay, and that's extremely, just sorting results is a huge break forward. This is a breakthrough in Domino processing. We allow the sort service to be pulled out of the view processor and used directly to provide you access. So again, the quick fetch, this is where of course in the fetch that's where we apply those formula overrides, and we would basically supply data for sorting. Sort service will work that way. And output, you have to specify, as I showed you, which type is stream or it's view. Either one. View will take longer because you must create it, and we have to populate a set of pages on disk. This actually persists. The streamed results simply presume it's a stream of results that come back in order, by the sort results. Okay, so that's basically the picture of what's going to happen here, and it is. If you will, a transient, a temporary, very quick report writing capability, or a persistent, building block of what I have been calling the Q bus. Okay, so that you can take that view can be input to other queries, etc. And you keep on going down the bus that way. But it's up to you what you want to do. Okay, so the cool stuff. This is kind of the ad page, the advertisement page. Again, I keep saying this, but it's to understand the value of the sort package being decoupled from view building is that in stream mode, you've never seen this before. We don't need to wait for a complete view rebuild. In other words, what happens is that the sort package will give us the first result like that. It sorts the highest rank, the highest sorted values show up immediately while the sort completes in the background. So you get this parallel streaming along with sorting as we go along here. You don't have to wait for a complete build. It comes right across very fast, milliseconds. I've done this. It's shocking how fast. If you do build a view, yes, it will take longer because you're saying, I want to persist the results. Again, I will advertise that we have separate column formulas for each document collection that's input. You have your data better than we do. You can supply what you want there to make it conform to the sort rules. So a little bit about the views that they can be used and discarded. It's fine. They can be retained. That's fine too. But given the input document collections, we can't recreate those document collections. You can do that. and we cannot refresh those views. Obviously, we don't know where they came from. You know that it's in your logic, okay? And there is a document security problem if we have multiple databases in a view. You know, they have multiple readers and authors lists. We need to write some code to be able to handle the composite of that document security. So. And by the way, it means that if you have reader lists on this database and this case, it must be in both. Okay, to access the view, you must have a name in both. So that's a problem we will deal with security folks, and so you understand it, and it's a concern, and we get it that way, but it's something we have to come back with. And for the geeks like me, one of the joint strategies we will do a sort merge, because sorting, as I say, is here, we have it, and we'll do a nested loop using views of FullText indexes. So this is just how you do a join. We have this in hand. Okay, all right. Okay, okay. So that's really the end of the DQL part of things. Can we at this point do a poll on question number 3? Because this stuff will show up on the next early access. Early access September has just been published, as far as I know. This work I'm showing you here will start showing up in the following one. I don't know when it's December or Q1. I'm not sure when you'll have the next drop, but it is going to show up. So I'm interested in how many people will try that.
This is the question about using the early access?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. We are launching. Just at 60% of our participants having answered. I'll give them a few more seconds. Okay, closing the poll in 3, 2, 1. So 83% of our attendees responding, 45% saying somewhat likely, 16% saying very likely, 18% saying definitely will, and 21% saying will not. So
okay.
sort of in 20, 20, 40, with basically what that means is 80% are going to give it a try.
That's awesome. No, I appreciate that. So you understand, we are all ears on this whole thing. We're listening to what you say. We want to know how you like it, etc. We're not doing this for our health, although we are doing it for our health. You know, the ability to see what you think of what we've done. It's a great early feedback mechanism. We're moving toward this thing called continuous delivery, where we deliver more drops earlier. So we get feedback in hand. So it's extremely valuable to everyone that we're doing this. So thank you. Thank you for even thinking of it. Okay, so I'm going to branch off a little bit into my team's larger work here. I think you understand that piece of work to do the document post-processing is a big chunk of what we're doing for 12. And once we get joins in place, it is a huge breakthrough for Domino application functionality we can give to you. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about other things we're doing, and this feature I'm about to show you is available in the September drop. So you know, this is a very cool thing that people have asked for a long time. In fact, you should understand we are driven in a large part, and it's a varying part, but a large part by the AHA database. So if you have ideas, please visit there, please contribute, please vote, and work on things. So transaction support has been something that's been requested for a long time, and we have delivered it. It's basically in the product in this September drop. 3 new methods at the database level. The first one, I think people understand this. The basic idea is you bundle work, and you consider this whole thing as either commit or roll back. That's the idea. We either take this work and write to the database, or we roll it back and say, no, we don't want to do that. So you can combine units of work. The Volt people have already started using this. They love it, okay, from that perspective. It basically says it makes a unit of, it creates what you consider to be a unit of work against the database. So begin, commit, and rollback. So begin says start now, commit says complete this work, and rollback says everything since transaction begin throw it out. I don't want this, okay? So it's a given database, you do 10 update operations, you can either commit or throw them away. And that's the idea. Now, very powerful, and in fact, we're giving you a new way to break the server. You should, so as I said, we're making you powerful, but when power comes responsibility. So the responsibility is that you don't break the database and keep things going. So rollback happens automatically when the database object is closed or goes out of scope. That is, if you didn't commit, we presume you're rolling back. So if you're going to use this, thou shalt commit or roll back, because we will roll back for you, and you don't want that. It's messy. So it makes sense to really be kind of particular and rigorous about your processing, your handling of transactions here. The agent's terminated will also cause this thing to happen. So, so if we have existing transactions, they will be rolled back automatically if you don't commit them, okay? Yes, and I say that if you have large, long-lasting transactions, you have 100,000 deletes or something, that's part of your big transaction, and you have circular. So this requires a little bit of knowledge about the transaction logging system that you're using. If you have circular logging, 4 gigabytes is the max. It's circular. If you overload that, you will crash the server. And we're training our support people to say, "Thou shalt commit," or rollback, because you need to. You must. There's no, you cannot have a transaction. By the way, this is across all databases have this issue, and if they let you have a transaction and you don't commit, it will cause mayhem. All kinds of things will go wrong. So the idea is please have civilized transactions. You do today. Your transaction today is a single update, right? So the idea is to think about how you'd use this, plan it ahead of time, and don't do large uncommitted transactions. And there's a restriction here that they do not list, they do not overlap. You cannot overlap transactions. So if you have one in play at any given time against a database, one level, there's no idea of having begin transaction within begin transaction. This is really a way to bound those things, and one at a time. So this is how we go one at a time against a database, I should say. You could have multiple transactions, one against each database, okay? That's the idea. Okay, powerful. Okay, now we get into the discussion of field length. This is a big aha, and people who've used Domino, there are restrictions. They've been there from day one, and people correctly make the point, if it was easy to fix this, it would have been fixed a long time ago. It's true, it would have been fixed a long time ago. So there's a big aha idea. It's got a huge number of votes. We hear you, we're doing it. It's not a small project, but we're making it happen. No, the traditional limits, and people are sick of this, is the 32K limit on field size and this 32K limit on document summaries. The summary is that part of the document that's referenced frequently. It's that part of the document that contributes to views. It's in the buckets, the part of NSF. The rest of it spills into the other part, the non-summary data. So this is a very important part of a given document, and those two limits have been traditionally there. Now, the problems people have said, of course, those limits get in the way. What happens when I overflow those? Well, we give you not the best error message, okay? And I will talk about that. So we need to provide you a better error message when those limits are hit. And we're going to do that as far as I'm concerned. We need to support larger data in views and folders for larger fields. Designer support really for the code size, a given Lotus script chunk also can overflow this. And there are other Domino limitations that are not related to this. I want to make sure that the number 32K applies to lots of things, and I want to make sure we're not talking about all of those. Okay, so people don't know about this, and this is something I want to make sure I will blog about this sometime soon. But the idea that we haven't done anything about this is false, patently false. We have done something. You do have to run compact, but compact-ls, or large summary, turn that on. We've delivered this in 901, fixed pack 8 around then. People aren't sure. Might be feature pack 9, I'm not sure. But there are new limits, okay? It's changed things, okay? Two things, both of them grew. So all fields, that is text, list, number range, have a new limit of 64K. So it's doubled. I'm not saying it's the full enchilada, what everyone wants. They want it to be unlimited. That's fine. We're going to do more work on it. And the document summary size, which had been 62K, has grown to 16 meg. So you can make more of these fields, and each one of them can be 64K in size. This does require a compact, to move up your ODS level. The question is, and this is not a poll, it's just a question personally, if you're one who's been stung by the 32K limit, have you tried this? Okay, this is the first step along the way. You have this now. It's the point. Okay, so that's available to you. Now, we're not done, and we're not stopping there. I'm not saying that. We are going ahead with a fix to this, an enhancement to this, and you understand this is not a small deal. As I said, if this was easy, it's correct. It would have been done a long time ago, but it's not that easy. So we are modifying multiple core APIs and persistent data structures. That is, data structures on disk. That means a new ODS. We're going to have to do that, and large summaries are going to be enabled. So we need to have a different structures, because internal pointers, internal sizes, all have to be extended, and we're going to have a deliverable that will I think satisfy most people as far as what they've seen. Okay, the first part of this is that only the max summary size will remain. So 16 meg is your summary size. Whatever you can fit in 16 meg is fine. So that means that the sum of the lengths of all summary fields will be able to use 16 meg. There is no size limit for an individual field within the 16 meg. So if you have a larger than 16 meg text item, you still have a problem. But I think 16 meg is a considerable increase over 32K. I think we've gone a long way here. The second part is that the non-summary fields, that part which spills the summary, is going to be 4 gig. So you can actually have a 4 gigabyte object of non-summary field, a single field that's that long. So if you want to have a rich text field or something that spans that much space, you can go ahead and do that. So that essentially, I mean, a field more than, I have to see the use case if you have a bigger than 4 gigabyte field. That's I mean, you should write a book at that point. It's amazing. Okay, and we are going to retain a hard limit on the view indexable field. The work to do to remove that is gigantic, and we do not have you don't want us doing that now. It'll be too risky and take too long. Okay, so that's basically what's supplying. I think we're going to hit most of these problems. Now, truth in
John,
advertising here. Yes, go ahead.
Just a time check, letting you know we're at the top of the hour. You keep cruising away, but keep an eye on the clock. We've got lots of great questions, but keep going.
Yes. Let's cruise first. I think I only have a couple more slides, and that's it. So yes, okay, real quick. The field is too large error message is even that's tricky. Okay, it's catch-all. Okay, the multiple venues in the error stage throw the error. The different states that throw the error are all of this. Oftentimes, it is the sum of field lengths generating the error. So a 2-byte field could generate the problem. No, so the effort for 12 is to fix this. Okay, have an overall summary size. I said will be the issue there. That's all we're going to show. And we need to come, if it's an individual field, if you really overall summary size, we need to provide a summary map, if you will, to show you the sizes. And the individual fields will include the field name. And that's it. Oh, good. I almost made it. Okay.
Wow, surprised me. Good job.
Yep.
Do we want to do the last poll question?
Yeah, let's do that, which is the features that I showed you. This really has to do with the results processor part of this presentation. If I showed you something in that's useful to use sorted results, which of those things, I think it's a multiple choice. You can choose multiple, but if you have needs for these, please check all that you need.
And while that is going on, I will take the sharing back. Getting a lot of support for joins. So we're at about 70% of our audience has voted. I'll close the poll here. So 75% for sorted results, 83% for joins and multiple database support, just 50% for aggregate under categorized columns, and 68% for views with DQL as a selection formula.
So
I'm going to get a question in right away because I've heard the conversation and been part of the conversation about views as a temporary structure for the purposes of DQL. When those views are created, are they retained in the NSF design? In other words, you got to go back and do cleanup yourself afterwards?
Cleanup. I'm sorry. Say it again, please.
So you run your DQL query and it generates your
view.
A view. You can use a view to organize your results. You had talked about the view being a temporary thing. My question is, when that view is generated as a result of your DQL query, you got to go clean it up afterwards. In other words, if you don't, over time, you can generate a whole lot of extraneous views in your NSF.
Yeah. Okay, now it's a fair thought. So I mean, the idea is that you could have an expiration time, or we don't know how long you want it. So this is the problem. How do we get?
Okay.
And that's a now maybe we provide. This is a good point. So you specify a parameter. So I want this, keep this for 1 day, and we will throw it. We'll toss it. That could be something you want to do. Something like that. There's different approaches here. People have different needs, and as I say, you might want to keep it permanently. You might want to have this chain or the query bus I've been talking about. You really can't have a catch-all here, but yes, certainly you can certainly delete it by hand programmatically. So the query, the delete index is exactly that. Or drop index.
Like you say, you end up with a whole bunch of views that never get cleaned up. So that was just my thinking here. Anyway, so there's a lot of good questions here.
The argument is you already have that. Okay, let's go ahead. Let's not make it worse. You're right. Don't make it worse. Okay.
Jesse, I'll get you to unmute and you can jump in here and we will start going through questions. So we've got a lot of questions, but by all means, if anybody has any other thoughts, feel free to jump in and use the panel to ask your question. We'll start up at the top. So this is going back to, John, when you were talking about a lot of the DQL searching there. So the first question is, what happens with DQL searches wider than default FT search limit of 5,000 documents?
Oh, we don't have that limit.
Don't have that limit?
Doesn't, no. We're using an internal mechanism called ID tables, and it's infinite. Well, I mean, it's the size of your database. Yeah. It's basically creating a set of node IDs. It does not. The 5,000 limit was really based on the client. That the client had. We didn't want to return a view that was so big that you couldn't navigate. So it's kind of a payload size thing, and really we don't want to have more than that. But no, it's the limit. That limit's gone.
Cool. Yep. Okay, next question. Are there improvements in FullText Index updating? We often need to search immediately when data is updated, and would it be better to disable the FullText Index and rely on DQL solely? Right.
So it is my intent to have that be absolutely the case where you can look at immediate results. I will say, I found a bug yesterday in what I was presuming to have worked. So I am working diligently to make sure that is the case in 1101. Frankly, that we can. There is a flag in the DQL API that says, "Please update my full text indexes," and I want to make sure that that is in fact working. It is not right now, and I apologize for anyone who's stumbled across it. But yes, that is I've heard that issue, and we don't want that to be the case with DQL going forward. So yes. And there were different approaches to it, but yes, it is. I know about the issue. We're going to deal with it.
Okay, we had a good question from Reed. When you were doing your demo, you were using a command prompt to submit DQL queries to your Domino server, so you're kind of interacting back and forth. And maybe you could just talk quickly. The question is, what's the prompt that you were using to show the query? But so basically, you're using command.
Yeah. You mean the command at the prompt? The prompt is just a Windows command, right? The CMD is Windows command. But no, I'm using DOM query, which is documented in the DQL documentation. You can see it. We ship it So DOM query is a facility for firing off either from the Domino console or from the command line a query against your server. And you can specify, as I showed you, the server bang database path, and it had to do remote searches that way. So it needs either a client or server context, but it fires directly from there. It's fine that way. So yeah, it's documented.
Cool.
Yep, DOM query.
Okay, we have the inevitable question about X pages. Is DQL supported directly in X pages or just through Java?
No, I'm sorry. I don't quite understand. So Java is part of the Java service is part of X pages, and the NAPI interface is part of X pages. I don't think there is a NAPI implementation of the Domino queries. That's one that, yeah, I want to hear about that. And if that's something we need, let's do it. Certainly,
okay.
we know how. And it is, yeah, it's not, so there's no JavaScript. You know, the JavaScript implementation of DQL is the apt-dev pack, right? That's our path forward. But X pages, you know, of course uses a different set of calls into Domino. It's called NAPI. It's a very quick, very low-level, thin Java layer between the code and the Domino C API. So that does not yet have a call to the Domino to DQL. So if that's a request, as I said, use AHA and create it. Okay.
Yep.
So like I said, the reason for AHA is that we get the entire community involved, not just the people on this call.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
Please.
Fantastic.
I literally was looking at it this morning. So you know, it's not we're paying very close attention to what's going on there.
Okay. Excellent. Okay, next question. Is it possible to query across multiple databases? I think the answer is yes. Will that be done in parallel or sequentially?
Well, okay. So in the presentation, I showed you the results processor. You will have to supply a Domino query object for each of the databases, passing in the same string. But it will be done. So right now, the idea is to do it sequentially. We could do it in parallel, but the results processor is going to be handling this because you know, results across databases is something we need to have. So I'm just thinking about the context, the scope. It's session scope. It cannot be database scope. So you must pass it in. That object must exist. A new object has to exist at the session level, and you pass it in these database context things like DQL or a document collection, and we will process it. Right now, in version 1, it will be sequential, but certainly parallelism is a natural. We can certainly do this, and the idea of having a DQL thread or threads, all they do is run DQL all day, is certainly in the cards regarding this. So you can feed any number of DQL queries running at once, returning results, etc. So that's. But I'm not announcing that. I'm telling you we know about it, know how to do it. Right now, it's sequential.
Good stuff. Next one, will it be possible to query across databases on multiple servers?
Yes, of course. Yeah, absolutely. There's no question that you can. Right. That was part of. By the way, that was part of my deliverable for the early code drop, the early access drop, the client server piece. It used to be no. But now it is. With the early access piece, you can query across multiple, and with the results processor, absolutely.
Awesome. Next question. So there's this series of questions all from John. John wins the day with the most questions asked. Will it be possible to create DQL views with other selection formulas than just select at all?
So I'm not sure. So in a DQL view, if and when, I should say when, the designer supplies that, DQL will replace the language, the formula language. I don't see the two, because DQL includes formula language. I don't see the two being together. In other words, in the designer. So when you have the selection criteria, it will be a DQL view, a DQL.
Yeah,
query.
I think it's more understanding that a DQL view is something that you build on the fly as opposed to something that has to exist in the database before you do your DQL query.
That's right. So what I presented was this throwaway view. This is, if you want, or yeah, I can say that because you might want to keep it. But the idea is transient. It's created on the fly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Is it possible to sort, group, and page on end results across databases? I think the answer is yes. You demonstrated that.
Yes, that's one of the, and I will demonstrate that within a month. That's my claim.
Awesome. We'll hold you to it.
Yep.
You showed this, but I'm going to ask the question anyway because it's a slightly different. Can I get the result set in different formats like JSON or XML?
So XML, we have not heard. Okay, if this is a requirement, I want to know about it. I want to make sure that we understand the need for that. JSON and XML is so close in they're like brothers, they're the same, except XML is more verbose. But as far as if you talk about them as competing, JSON is one hands down, right? JSON is much more adopted, and XML is kind of the older brother. But it's a question of what you want, and I need to know what the real requirement use case is for that, because what web app or environment wants XML these days? And it might be a very good answer. I don't know. Let me know.
Plus, as you mentioned, we now have the classes that do the JSON parsing as well. So that should be, I would think, unless there was a specific case, like you say.
Yeah, JSON parsing is everywhere. Whether you go to Java, JavaScript, even we're giving a Lotus script, and that's, as I say, the navigator is going to continue to keep going that way. Okay.
Okay, this question was asked before the latter part of your presentation, but I'll ask it again. So can I use DQL to get the result set instead of using DB lookup or DB column to avoid the 64K limit?
Okay, I'm not sure what the 64K limit is in this case.
With a DB lookup or a DB column? I've run into that actually.
In the formula language. Okay, so this is I need to understand this, and this is an aha. I don't quite understand it yet, but the idea of supplying what that 64K limit is at it's a set of results. It's a payload of those two calls. Is that what that is? I'm sorry, I don't understand it, and I need to learn. I want to learn about it. How's that for an answer?
Okay.
And I don't quite know the actual use case and the requirement there, but I consider limits the enemy. So you've got an ally right here that way.
Okay, cool. Well, so it's Kieran that asked the question. Kieran, by all means, jump onto AHA and post your question and or your ID.
It does have it. I know there's definitely an AHA question about it. I was looking at it this morning, and I was like, well, what? I don't know. So I need to understand.
Okay.
Thanks. Thank you.
All right. So now our questions are transitioning into the latter part of your presentation. The next question then is, what will happen to a transaction if a server crashes and the database is clustered?
Rollback.
Yeah.
Rollback. Rollback is the default. Yeah. If we don't get a commit, it gets rolled back.
Okay. Next question. Do you support? Sorry. Go ahead, John.
That must be the semantics. We cannot commit for you. That would be an injustice. I guess I'd say more people would complain if we auto committed than auto roll back.
Yeah, the emphatic response tells me it backs up what you said in your presentation, and that is just a kind of a new mindset as we get into this and just understanding that that's the default.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
okay, next question.
Don't go into this half-cocked, guys. If you're going to use transaction, think about it, please. This is not a minor deal. It's a big deal, and if you're not
turn it on, we'll try it, see how it works.
Yeah.
Okay, next question.
Do you support server?
Do you support document locking in Domino transactions?
I do not know that they're. Yeah, I mean, document locking is an update. So have I tried it? No, but as a rule, document locking is a document update, and it would obey the rules of the transaction. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
We are at 13 minutes left to the bottom of the hour, and we've got about 13 questions left, so we're timing okay here. Please add formula support to parse JSON strings in R12 so that we can use JSON values of JSON strings stored in text fields in views. That comes from Karsten.
Text fields in views, that is the text field as part the text field that's returned as part of the payload of a well, Karsten knows NIF read entries. It's part of that the summary. Is that what it is? So I don't.
Maybe we should point Karsten over to AHA as well and get some support for that.
Karsten knows who I am.
Yeah, that's true.
He can find me. Thank you, Karsten.
Okay. Is large structure automatically enabled on new databases post 901 FP8? So this was the feature that you had mentioned that even I hadn't heard about until you brought it up in a previous presentation that I was part of.
Large summary?
Yeah, is it enabled on new databases, or must compact -ls be run even on new databases?
It is related to the ODS. I'll have to research that. I'm not. Let me not answer that. I'm not sure. Certainly, you need to. If you have an old database that you move up in ODS, you still must implement it. We're not going to, figure that out for you because the ODS change requires a set of code that's only part of that ODS. So it is the ODS is kind of the gate. And if you create a new one, I'm not sure that that's what the default is. I don't know. I'll have to ask my colleague.
That might be something you include in your blog post about it.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Moving along, can DBMT be utilized to enable large summary support?
I don't know that it isn't. I'll have to research that as well. This is good. Yeah. Hey, are you going to send me these questions, by the way?
You betcha.
Please. I can't guarantee I'll recall them all, but yes, that's a very good question. I think it's true. I don't know.
Yeah, where we need to do follow-ups, we'll get the answers, and then we can create a blog post on the OpenNTF website with the answers.
Whatever the answers are, I'll get back to you. Yep.
Okay, fantastic. In V11, do we still need to create or enable the special database for DQL, which was required in V10?
No, and I debated where to start my presentation, whether I go back to 11 or 10 or, because I had 1 hour to give it and it would have taken 3 hours to go back.
Yeah.
But yes, no, so that was a key change in version 11. We call it the inboard design catalog. So GQF.cat, GQFdesign.cat went away. Okay, that is now brought into the database as a set of special documents that create. You never see them, and it involves that database is gone at 11. So it never.
You still need to catalog the database, though, right? You still need to catalog.
Yes. So okay, this gets into the other discussion. Why do I need a design catalog? And the answer is that you do not want us cracking open view notes at query time. That's a very silly idea that we would open up all the design elements and figure out how to process things. So we need a go faster structure that lets us quickly look up views and columns and fields in this new structure in such a way that we can provide query speed. As I say, you don't want us opening view notes. That's just not gonna. That will not scale. So we needed to have a special structure, and the design catalog gives us that.
Excellent. Okay, we've got a bunch more we're going to try and get to before the bottom of the hour. Frederick asks, do the functions, so this was the latter part of your presentation, do all of the new ideas that you're coming up, those functions require transaction logs?
Yes.
Or were those two?
Well, I will say, look, okay, little advance warning to people who don't like transaction logs. We are strongly considering dropping support for any place that doesn't have transaction logs. Bomb. Okay, but you know what? You want them, and they are robust. And yeah, the idea that we need a separate disk. No, you don't. The idea is if you have enough transactional data, enough updating data that you need a separate disk, Well, it's time to think about that anyway. But most people don't need that. They can put their circular logs right on the same disk as their server without impact. The problem is robustness. So the problem is our support efforts to continue to go back to people who have not implemented it is getting overwhelming. You know, there's just stuff that, you know, it's, if you just turn it on, these problems go away. So, you know,
Yeah.
living on our side of the fence, you know, you want us to be able to give you new features, right? Okay, so in that case, we need to have you do your part of the job, which is transaction logging has been around since R5, guys, and it's time. Okay, and the cost, as I say, the cost of supporting a non-transaction based Domino system is exorbitant. And we ask people, if it's the first question we ask, is it on? No. Well, you know what? I don't know. Really, I don't know what happened because we don't have the ability to recover from this stuff. The reason we wrote transaction logging is precisely to respond to those issues. So this is, get me on my soapbox here, but
yes, I'm
it
pitching here.
is.
I've got a bunch more questions I want to jump to. So
Yeah,
point taken.
the answer is even stronger than Frederick wanted.
Gotcha. Okay. Next question. So this is related to keeping a view created by DQL. Can you confirm the view index data does not expire if unused after so many days, like they do with the current views?
Well, that's again, I showed you the bare bones of our parameters. If this is something people want, they want to have expiration date. We asked that question earlier. Can we automatically expire it? Of course. So that may be something we have passed in as a parameter when you create the thing. Certainly, we know how to put that into the view note, right? This is not, that's not mysterious. What is of concern is it's not obeying what you want. You decide what you want regarding the behavior that way, expiration, those kind of things. That's all really part of what we're giving you. So yes, the view data itself. Again, if it's DQL, we can refresh it. Perhaps we haven't got there yet, to be honest. But the idea is that we would keep it around. We would refresh it on a periodic basis, like every other view. And the expiration and discard parameters would be part of the API. Okay.
Cool. We have a question here from a person who is new to Domino, which is fantastic. Thank you for joining us. Is it correct to assume that the only way that you can use DQL in V11 is with LotusScript Java or Node.js and not DQL by itself? That's more of an education question. And
okay, DQL by itself doesn't make a lot of sense. It's in a programmatic environment. You can certainly run DQL from command line, but all, as I said, that DOM query, all it does is show you how the DQL gets exercised, how it gets run, and doesn't produce. The problem with DQL is to produce results. So the results are just a set of internal document IDs that get processed by the various APIs. That's why it's bundled. Okay,
I think this may be a matter of the person asking the question being new to LotusScript or Java, so having to learn that programming language on top of learning the DQL. But there are some simple ways and some good documentation that's available on getting started with DQL. So that would be the place to start.
Exactly.
Okay. In V12, will design changes to views still require a manual call to updall to commit those design changes to the catalog? I think the answer is yes.
That's gone to 11 actually. 11.
Oh, right, of course.
In 11, we gave you parameters on the execute and explain calls to create the design catalog or refresh it. Those are both just parameters you pass in, and it's done automatically for you.
Okay, this one's kind of a duplication of a previous question. Time to rebuild the index when new docs are inserted hangs the query.
Yeah.
So this is something that you've said you're wanting to pay attention to.
We have to dot the I's on the API, and that's true. So thank you for, and I'm getting, this is one of the reasons I wanted to do this, to get people's concerns. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Will it be possible to use DQL to return as a result set as grouped, like a categorized view, including totals? Oh.
So totals are part of the view. So okay, so this gets a whole other discussion. So the question about aggregates is really addressed by totals, but totals are not robust enough to handle this on-the-fly processing, right? And maybe if you use subtotals and as part of your views, you'll know that's the case. So the idea, so there's two different venues. One is in the designer, when you create a view with subtotals and DQL, that will work once we support it. That will work exactly as they do today. So subtotals are that's something we do with the data. Aggregates, which I asked a question about in the processing, it's on the fly, and it's something that we would produce as you produce the results. We would do averages, max mins, and those things. So it's really a separate capability. It's very related. I'm not saying they're not related. They are, but they're really a different mechanism. So I guess I have to fully understand. I think they're talking about the subtotal feature, the subtotal facility of views, and with DQL, that will continue to work.
Cool. Okay, we've got two more questions, and actually I'm going to answer this one. So this goes back to Kieran's question about the running into the 64K limit with DB lookup and DB column. The question is, many times on a web app, we want to show a list of items to users to choose from a drop list field, and we're running into the 64K limit of the large data size. Can we use DQL here? I would say no. Well, instead of, what you might be better off doing there is to put 2 or 3 other fields in to allow your users to further categorize the data before you give them the final list to choose their value from, which lets you cut down on how big a result set you're putting into a field.
So that sounds like the 64K limit in Lotus script in Java.
Mm-hmm.
Of those.
Yeah, so better to do a little bit of re-architecting of the web app than trying to squeeze a huge amount of data into a field that, from an end user standpoint, usability is probably going to be a challenge when you give them a drop list that's got 5,000 choices in it.
Well, that's the thing, right? So how much data can a human being process? This is an ongoing question I have. 10,000 results. Who could read 10,000 results? You can do that? It's amazing.
We've got less than 1 minute to go here. So last question, and it comes also from Karsten. Will the large summary C API methods be documented and exposed for developers in R12?
I hope so. That is, I know we're going to be expanding the set. This is not this process, but the C API is going to undergo a facelift. First of all, to make it work at all, and secondly, to encompass a bunch of new calls. And yeah, I think the ability to handle these large summaries will require documentation on top of what we have. So the existing APIs have to keep working, obviously. We have to finesse that in such a way that we make sure that we support the new data as well. So yeah, I would foresee we do that. Yeah.
All right, and with that, we have reached the end of our time. So I will say thank you very much to you, John, and thank you to everybody who stuck with us through the webinar today and all of the polls and giving us your feedback. Again, a reminder about the AHA site. That's the place to go to ask your additional questions and other ideas and share your feedback, vote on other people's suggestions. And just to wrap up, as we say, we'll get some of these questions that we weren't able to get answered. We'll get some answers from John, and we'll put together a blog post on the OpenNTF site. Reminder, we already have our October webinar scheduled for October 22nd. Head to the OpenNTF site and you can find how to sign up for that there. And with that, I will say thank you to everyone and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone.